the pet food industry evolves and new trends emerge all the time. So the meat processors or people that are involved in this business, they have to stay up to date with their latest developments, and they have to invest into research and development. It's a must because they have to stay competitive on the market.
Hello, me folks. Welcome back to the MeatsPad podcast. My name is Francisco Najar. I'm your host today. We continue the conversations with meat industry leaders, not only in the U.S., but also in the global meat industry. I had the opportunity to meet our guest from today. Last year at the IFA show in Frankfurt, Germany, we did some demonstrations with Gantek. It's a company based out of Turkey. And Cansu, who we have today, she's an expert helping a lot of people in the pet food industry since 2018, 2019. Last episode that we had with Dr. Boy on product deviation and on cooling deviation after thermal processing, I think there's certain topics that we need to at least be aware that exist out there. And today I think we're going to go a little bit deeper on the current stage of the pet food industry, not only in the US, but a global perspective. And thank you, Cansu, for being here today with us.
Good day, Francisco. I thank you too. Thanks for the invitation, for having me in this podcast, which is the 99th one, as I heard from you. I'm very pleased to be the speaker of today. So once again, my name is Cansu Caliskan, and I am excited to share an introduction on the pet food industry today. I myself am active in this business since 2018, and ever since I have gained extensive experience in identifying and pursuing business opportunities in this niche. And as a former representative working in geographies like Europe, Asia, and Africa, and selling to an American company, I have proven track, of course, in successfully identifying and securing high quality suppliers and managing all operations. That goes from building strong relationships within all the parties involved up to the raw material procurement to processing and shipment. And one of my key strengths is that I developed throughout the years is also the ability to analyze market trends and identify potential growth opportunities. And currently, I am giving freelance consultancy services, as you said already, alongside with a collaboration at the Gantek company, and with the understanding of zero waste strategies and modern meat processing plants.
Yeah, I think this is a very important topic because we had a conversation with Dr. Greg Aldrich a while ago. He's a leader here in the U.S. on the pet food industry. So basically, actually this week, it's here in Kansas City, celebrated the Pet Food Forum. Good opportunity for all those companies that, because a lot of the time we focus companies that are trying to either import some co-products or import, it can be anything. It can be bull stick, it can be trachea, esophagus, all the co-products that can be used for the pet food industry. And maybe we're gonna start from there. What is from your perspective? What is maybe an update on where is the pet food industry now in a global perspective? I know you help many companies overseas when they have to, either companies that are producing those byproducts to connect them to companies in the U.S. that are obtaining those co-products to transform it and produce a shelf life stable pet food treat, or use them for a wet pet food line. And I think we're going to start from there to just learn from you. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I have to say that you're absolutely right. So it is really not so much related. And I would like to show you as an introduction that our listeners need to realize that the meat industry and the pet food industry are interconnected in several ways. So undoubtedly, one of the main connections is that basically the pet food often contains meat byproducts, which are leftovers from the human food industry. And these byproducts can include like offals, bones, and even other parts of animals that are typically not consumed by humans. Well, meat byproducts basically are a cost-effective source of protein for pet food manufacturers, as they are often less expensive than using it in whole cuts of meat. And the pet food industry itself is a significant consumer of these meat byproducts, and they are purchased from meat processing plants or from other sources within the meat industry. So you can do it within your own meat plant, or you can source it. This is also okay. And in this context, I'd like to mention that the meat industry and the pet food industry also share certain regulatory frameworks. So both industries are subject to regulations regarding food safety, labeling, and manufacturing practices. For example, pet food manufacturers also have to comply with labeling requirements, and they have to include details such as ingredients or nutritional information, whether they import or export. So it is really a matter of fact that to keep it right. And in terms of your question with the United States, how the market is over there currently. So first of all, I have to say that the market is growing steadily. And over the years, it has really grown big, and it is still expanding with the expectations to continue growth in the future. So one of the driving factors definitely is the increasing number of pet owners, which is continually going up. And recent studies, they show that the pet ownership in the US is more and more growing among the younger generations. So once young people from Generation Z or the millennials, when they want to build a family, they see a pet as a must-go, and they acquire a family formation based on that. And in this context, I would like to mention the latest report from Bloomberg Intelligence, which I've just found. It was released basically March 24th, which proves the expansive growth of the industry driven by skyrocketing global pet ownership, as well as the humanization and premiumization of pet nutrition, supplies, and services. And I'll get back on this later as well. But in order to give you also some figures to get a rough idea of the market size, according to Bloomberg Intelligence, the global pet industry is currently worth 320 billion US dollars, and it is expected to reach 493 billion US dollars by 2030. So in percentage, this means a drastic increase of 54%, which is a mass.
Yeah, I think those numbers, I mean, they're available. I mean, this is a real situation, and you mentioned something very important. You mentioned that the meat industry and the pet food industry are interconnected, and that's a true story. I think one of the opportunities that I see, not only in the U.S. but also in Mexico or Central America, South America, that a lot of the times the larger groups of a company, they produce, I mean, either for pork or beef, I mean, they take advantage of that because they are the own suppliers of those core products. I mean, they produce all those core products, and it's easier for them to start creating a product in a streamline that whatever they're producing. I mean, we mentioned some of them already, but I think I would like to hear from you some of the recommendations for small, mid-sized meat processors that are, I mean, basically going from 20 beef a week to maybe 100 or 200 beef a week, and are maybe exploring the idea of entering the pet food. Some basic concepts, and we were talking basically before we started recording on just the drying. I mean, just drying some co-products. If you do it right, you can claim it as natural, because I mean you basically are just using drying, lowering the water activity, and you can market it as a natural product. and we just gave some examples. But I think if you can provide us some of the opportunities that you see for small processors, if they want to start, well, what are some of the basics?
No matter of what size actually the business is, there are some key aspects that you have to consider once you want to enter in this pet food industry, because you have to ensure to provide safe, nutritious, and appealing products for pets. And this is a huge responsibility that the manufacturer actually takes. And I can think of 5 key aspects that I would like to mention. So first of all, number one is very important, of course, regulations and compliance, because the pet food industry is regulated by various government agencies. As you mentioned, South America is a very important supplier for the United States, basically, and it needs to be FDA approved. It needs to be USDA approved. There are veterinarians always working there. The checks, the laboratories, they frequently check it, and there are specific guidelines and regulations. You have to ensure the safety and the quality of the products. And it is important to research and understand the regulations that apply to pet food production and distribution once you want to get into this business. Number 2 would be the ingredient sourcing and quality. So meat processors should ensure that the ingredients they use in pet food are high quality and safe, and of course appropriate for pet consumption. So their raw material has to be transported in cold chains in order to have a high quality raw material without any bacteria, so that it is they should consider that the nutritional needs of pets and the work with veterinarians or animal nutrition experts in order to develop those formula, those recipes that are important for the different types of pets, basically, because at the end of the day, you will be supplying many different clients, which go with many different people they are supplying. Number 3 would be processing and packaging. That's very important as well, because the pet food is being processed, but it also needs to be packaged and stored in a way that maintains its quality and safety. So you have to take care of where you store it. So, for example, for the dried products that you were just mentioning, they should be in a dried storage area without any sunlight or kept in safe areas. And this includes, for example, also appropriate processing techniques, or even maybe ancillary equipment such as dryers or extruders, because there are many different ways in order to move along the pet food industry. It's a broad business. There are many different ways of producing, and we will also discuss this later on. But you have to implement measures to prevent contamination during production, and you have to ensure that it is safe also by the end. Number 4 would be marketing and branding. So whether you're very big or small size business, you have to take care of your marketing, because to succeed in the pet food industry, meat processors must develop a strong brand and marketing strategy that appeals to pet owners, or let's say to their clients. This may involve creating unique product lines. This is also developing eye-catching packaging or promoting the health benefits of their product, so that everything is neat and well structured. And in this context, I'd like to shortly draw your attention to the e-commerce in the United States, as it, especially for the pet food sector, it is one of the main channels to supply the product. The e-commerce will continue to expand in the pet food and pet industry. And currently, the US e-commerce pet sales are expected to hit $57.7 billion by 2030. This number is currently 27.9 billion. So you can see it will be skyrocketing. It will be really, it's growing. And if you have a look, Chewy.com, Amazon.com, these are, for example, one of the top sales channels that go with these pet food, with a pet food business, basically. And last but not least, I want to mention number 5, the research and development shortly, because the pet food industry evolves and new trends emerge all the time. So the meat processors or people that are involved in this business, they have to stay up to date with their latest developments, and they have to invest into research and development. It's a must because they have to stay competitive on the market. And this might involve developing new products, exploring alternative ingredients, which is also very important throughout these days, or just improving existing recipes based on customer feedback and market trends. This is also an opportunity they have to take care.
And we were discussing earlier this week about being creative, and I think we can go back and forth. One same product. You mentioned. I told you about. This is a good quote for the podcast. You just put a little bit of labor on a product, either a braided ballistic, either like a esophagus with a shape of a pretzel. There's some labor into it, but at the end you get more profit. You get better margins because it is more appealing to the pet owner.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. In general, the pet owners' consciousness is rising, so they are aware what they are providing their pets with. So, and there is a trend also really that the consumers are willing to pay more for items for their pets. And as you say, there might be a higher cost in producing them. So there's much effort put inside, the better the product benefits are. And even if it just pleases the eyes with this more aesthetic look, as you said, it's not only that stick, it's a braided one, it's a spring. So it means that the higher is the value is being put in. Therefore, the pet parents do not hesitate to spend more money on their four-legged family members. They seek higher quality and nutritious pet food options. Definitely, it is worth producing them.
Yeah, and I think for we're almost concluding this episode, and I think we need to do more of this because this is some alternatives for small meat processors that. It is real. Sometimes it is more expensive to have the rendering company come and pick up or collect the byproducts. So a lot of them, they just all those items end up in the landfill. That you basically not getting anything out of that out of those products. And I think there's always a balance, right? Looking at your volume, looking at maybe some products that can be drying in the same cycle. Perhaps they can be the case of trachea or esophagus or of the bull stick, the pistol. There's some alternatives for sure. And I think that leads me to my next question and last one about specifications. And that may be for some of the folks that are already have an existing pet food company that they're listening to this podcast. What would be some of your recommendations or the challenges that you see that, you have point A, you have the kill floor, the slaughterhouse that is producing these many byproducts. And then you have the point B, you have the company manufacturing pet treats or pet food. So what is the best way to communicate between this point A, point B, to avoid any issues, all right? There's specifications for each product. If we go back to fresh meat, it's the same thing. I'm not sure if you have some insights on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. First of all, I'd like to get back to your comment regarding the rendering. Absolutely. So rendering is a must-have for any meat plant because there are a lot of byproducts that are taken out, bones that have to be taken care of and things like that. But the pet industry is a broad sector. It is still being in discovery, but everyone who is contributing, or let's say willing to contribute in this branch, it's different than rendering because you have two main aims to achieve. First of all, you take an immense responsibility in my eyes, and you also take a privilege, what I think, because you contribute to a pet's lifetime of well-being by providing the best possible pet food. And a pet's digestive health affects almost every aspect of their health and happiness, believe me. And secondly, that you keep a pet occupied, but also happy at the same time, giving great health benefits as well. And regarding the question of specifications, oh my God, there are so many different variations of products. So it goes from dry to wet products on the market, and it ranges from naturally dried treats that are just from original byproducts that are being taken out of the slaughtering process. There might be freeze-dried toppers or samples, kibble, or formulated complete and balanced diets. And here I have to mention that there is an increase in demand for natural and organic pet food products, because pet owners become more health conscious and seek to provide their pets with the same level of care and nutrition as they would for themselves. And this trend leads to an emergence of a range of natural and organic pet food items, and even personalized nutrition for pets, where pet owners can customize their pets' diets based on their individual needs and preferences are their objective of the tomorrow. And in spite of inflation and other economic pressures, it's clear, it's proven by statistic figures, as pet owners continue to adhere to their pets' dietary needs, it is expected that they remain the biggest, that the pet food itself is expected to remain the biggest expense for all pet parents. And once they get a good quality, they do not hesitate to spend the money for their little family members.
Yeah. And I was reading somewhere that almost 70 or something like a big figure, somewhere between 70 or 80% of the households in the U.S. have either a pet, either a dog or a cat. So it's as you said, it's an increasing, ever increasing business, not only in the U.S. but globally. I think even in Europe, and that's maybe we can talk in another episode about what Europe and some of the regulations that kind of vary from the U.S. From the pet food perspective and raw materials. But I want to thank you, Cansu, for your time. It's been a good first episode. I think we need to do more on pet food for sure, because and some of you will be wondering why. What are you looking at pet food if you talk about meat processing? Well, I tell you that 30-40% of the people out there, companies and the business in the meat industry, are investing in some sort of pet food line, either wet pet food, dry food. I mean, you name it. I mean, they want to enter the market because it's a good opportunity. It's a good business to be in, and as you said, I mean, you take advantage. I mean, if you're capable of using other items out of the carcass, out of the animal, and get a better margin, a better profit out of that, it makes sense. So why not do it? So thank you a lot, Cansu, for this episode. I'm sure a lot of our listenership will enjoy this, and hopefully they took notes on all you said today.
Thanks a lot for having me. So I'm very pleased to be giving the opportunity to be your speaker today. If any of your listeners, anyhow, are interested in more information, they can either reach you or me. I mean, we are both on LinkedIn. Reaching out nowadays is not that difficult because everything is digital online. So we'd be happy to help. I'd be pleased to get some reach outs.
Thank you a lot again for your time, and we'll see you soon either in Europe or here in the US when you come back to Kansas City.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks.